Hey guys, and today I'm going to be looking at the two hottest smartphones in the market right now, the Samsung Galaxy S3 and iPhone 5. I get this question all the time, which one should I get? And we're going to look at these today, compare them in specs, and compare them on software and see where you should go. But the first thing we need to look at here are the differences between the two phones. Here is the new iPhone 5, and it comes with a 4-inch Retina display now, first change in the iPhone ever in the size of the screen. It is an IPS LCD display with InTouch technology, which removes a layer off the top of the screen so it'll bring the screen closer, with 1136 to 640 pixel resolution, and that gives you 326 ppi. Now the back of the iPhone we will go over is the new 8 megapixel camera, and it's an f2.4 stop with a backside illuminated sensor, and it is boosted in low light technology, and that's what Apple touted on this version, with a sapphire crystal lens cover that is better for scratches on the lens cover itself. It does have a premium build with aluminum glass build, and it feels great in the hand. Now included is 4G LTE connectivity, but it has a non-removable battery. It does 1080p video also, but does not feature SD card slot for expansion. Now the Samsung Galaxy S3 features a monster 4.8-inch Super AMOLED display with 1280 by 720 resolution, which gives it a 306 pixel per inch density, and it's a great looking screen. Now the back of the Samsung Galaxy S3 features an 8 megapixel camera with an f2.6 stop lens, backside illumination, burst shot mode, which means you can take more than one picture at a time, and it also does 1080p video. But unlike the iPhone 5, this features a plastic build, and that's one of the downsides of Samsung devices, I think, as a whole, is the feel and the plastic build. And it also has a removable battery, which is great, and features an SD card slot for easy expansion and cheap, up to 64 gigabytes on top of internal storage, and also features NFC for mobile payments and sharing of information with just a touch of the phone together. Now let's take a look at the two devices so we can compare them side by side, and you can tell that the Samsung Galaxy S3 is a much bigger device, and these two companies have a different outlook on how they want their smartphones. Samsung is more about the big beautiful displays and having more content on the screen, where Apple is more about one-handed use and just pocketability and things like that. But you can see here by the choice of materials is definitely goes up to the iPhone, because it does use premium materials. They both feel pretty good in the hand, but this is the number one thing here, is the removable battery and the SD card slot on this model. This almost wins hands down just because of that. You can change your battery whenever you want, and you can get easy storage, so that is great. Now both of these screens look fantastic. There's a couple of tests that came out saying the iPhone 5 has the best screen on the market right now, and I have to agree with them. The color replication is perfect, and the brightness is awesome, easy to see outside in the light, and that's one of the problems that I've had with AMOLED screens. And I think a lot of people have had the same problem with AMOLED screens as well, that it's harder to see in the light outside because the screen is not as bright as an LCD panel. But the Super AMOLED screen here, HD, is a beautiful screen, deep contrast, and you can see it looks beautiful. And as long as you're using it indoors, it's not like it's impossible to see outdoors or anything. But this screen also is very comparable, but I have to give it to the iPhone 5 for a better screen. Now, both of them feature voice recognition. What's the weather like today?
Nice weather coming up today. Up to 84 degrees and partly sunny.
Mostly sunny and very warm. Today the current temperature is 86
But the iPhone 5 is a little bit faster on recognition, but until Jelly Bean gets pushed out into the US devices, then it's not really worth comparing, because that voice is pretty terrible. Alright, so first and foremost, this is a phone, so we need to talk about call quality on both of these devices. Now, I had no problem with the Samsung Galaxy S3. It's very good on phone calls, loud earpiece, decent speakerphone, but the iPhone 5 has really, really good phone quality as well. It does have a third noise canceling microphone inside the speaker itself in the earpiece, so it does cancel noises very well, and people said that on the other side of the line that is extremely clear. And the Galaxy S3 is good as well, but I think the iPhone 5 slightly edges it on the voice quality. Now, the web browsing is great on both devices, but I do prefer the Super AMOLED display because it's so much bigger. But you can see here that the Android Central page loaded up faster on the iPhone 5. But here you can see that it's very fluid on both. Pinch to zoom is great, and the web browsing experience is awesome. And here I'm just going to open Chrome just to see how Chrome fares compared to the stock browser. And if you look here, the iPhone 5 is going to finish first, but it's really not that much different, as you can see, in speed. They are both really, really fluid, and they're great. And I think if you like web browsing, both of these devices are great, but I prefer the larger screen. All right, now let's talk about just the different operating systems here. This is running iOS 6, and we've all seen iOS before, and it is just getting extremely stale. They've added some stuff to the notification screen here, like Facebook and Twitter and things, and that's a great inclusion. But I just think that Android is just way ahead of the game at this point. If you just look here, even at the notification screen, you can flick them individually one by one. So much better management here with quick toggles up top. And the Galaxy S3 on software is definitely ahead of the game on iOS 6. And especially when Jelly Bean gets pushed out to the US devices. I know you can get it on there right now, rooted and things like that. But until it officially gets pushed out, I think it's going to even make it better, where iOS 6 is just completely stale. And here you can see that there's a lot of widgets. I think Android users will be familiar with that, but if you've never used an Android device before, widgets are just basically quick access to your apps. Like here, like you can put YouTube right on your home screen or wherever you want and have quick access to YouTube. Instead of opening the actual YouTube app itself, you can have them right accessible right on your home screen and your different screens. And widgets are just amazing. I don't know how iOS users can really stay away from it, but since the iPhone 5 has been out, this is the only time I've gone back to iOS since it's been kind of stale, and it's really hard to get away from Android since you can customize your keyboard and change colors and do a lot of stuff that you cannot do on iOS. Now, don't get me wrong, iOS is very fast and it's great, but I think Android's just ahead of the game. But looking at the two app stores together, you can see that Apple has changed their App Store to be a little bit more friendly, and it does have more apps, but Android is catching up so quickly. And I really do like how the Play Store has everything aggregated into one. The apps, music, magazines, books, and TVs, they have all that integrated into one system in Google Play, where in the iPhone you have to go search around everywhere. iTunes, different places for different things, and it's kind of a mess. Now, both of them game very, very well. And you can see here, no problems playing these games. The iPhone does run a custom A6 processor that does clock supposedly as high as 1.3 gigahertz dual core. And the Samsung Galaxy S3 is running a 1.5 gigahertz dual core Snapdragon S4 processor. And the iPhone is a custom triple core GPU. But you can see both of them, they play games great, and I don't think you'll have any problems playing games, graphic intensive games, and they're both a great experience. And here, one more thing is how Android handles multitasking. It's always been great ever since Ice Cream Sandwich, and you can see here that you can just remove all of them if you want to with one button, kind of jump around if you want to, swipe them and kill them one by one. But on iOS, it's still this just stale where you have to hold it down and kill individual apps. There's not even a kill all button, and this is just getting to be pretty annoying, and hopefully they can really revamp it. But I mean, you can see here you can still multitask and you can switch in between, but Android just has a much more elegant way of multitasking. Now, the camera is kind of a big deal. since a lot of people take a bunch of photos on their cell phones. And the iPhone 5 does not disappoint. Super fast shutter. It does take great pictures. And if you had a 4S before, you will know that it takes great pictures, fast focus. But the options are kind of limited on the iOS experience. But here is the new panorama feature that they offer, and it's really, really easy to use. All you do is just hit the button and follow the arrow. And once you're done with that, it's done. So it's pretty cool, but panorama's been around forever in all kinds of different devices. And here you can take pictures at the same time while recording, but Android's also had that for a while, and you can also do that with the Samsung Galaxy S3. But it does take great pictures, and if you just like simplistic shooting and just pointing away and getting great pictures, the iPhone 5 will be good for you. But the Samsung Galaxy S3 here has an 8 megapixel camera as well. They're both the same on the sensor megapixel size, and they both have very fast shutters. So they both take great pictures, and here you can see that even in video mode, you can take pictures as well. So they both have the same kind of features. But if you look at the camera app on the Samsung Galaxy S3, you have so many more options of different focus, different settings, and you have a lot more manual control over your camera, which is great, and I really like that as well. And you have a lot more things here. There's that panorama, you have cartoon, share shot, HDR. You have a lot of different things here. So I think camera enthusiasts as a whole, or people that like to tinker with their photos, the Galaxy S3 will definitely be the one for you. Now, video playback wise, they both play video awesome, and you can see here the Samsung Galaxy S3, it supports almost anything you can throw at it, DivX, anything that you'd want, it'll play it, where the iPhone 5 is only limited to MPEG-4 at this time. But you can see that the screens are beautiful, they're great, they're both immersive when you watch content on them, but the Samsung Galaxy S3 has a more of a cinematic look on the AMOLED screen, but I think you'd have to see them both side by side because the iPhone 5 screen is also very, very nice. But I think you'll like watching movies on either one. Now, the Maps program is pretty much the biggest controversy at this point between the two devices, where Google Maps is super strong. They've got a really accurate database, where Apple decided to go to the TomTom maps and do their own custom maps, and inaccuracy is kind of a big issue at this time. But visually, the iOS map is very, very good, and on the 4S and 5 they run really good. On the 4 it kind of lags a bit. But here you can see that they have different approaches to the maps, and I know Google has some 3D. They have some 3D mapping as well. But if you look at the two side by side here, you can see that the buildings and stuff are a little more accurate, or are a little bit more detailed on the iOS side. But POIs and stuff that you find are way, way more accurate and way more robust on Google Maps. And I think Google Maps is so important, and I think this is one of the things that people are going to be missing the most from iOS 6. And all the people that use transit and everything else, there's just so much more options on Google Maps, and I think Google Maps is much better. And they both have turn-by-turn directions, but you can see here that the big screen on the Samsung Galaxy S3, it is awesome to have turn-by-turn directions from there. But everything I've done so far on iOS 6, the turn-by-turn directions for me have been completely accurate, and it's been great for me in my testing. But this is also what's awesome, is that it'll continue to track you and do GPS while you have the lock screen on. I think that is an awesome feature. So the question is, which one should you get? Well, really, you need to look at what you want. They're both awesome phones. They both have great screens. They both have LTE. They both have very similar processor sets, and they're both fast and they're great phones. But you have to ask yourself, do you want Android or do you want iOS? Do you want something that is familiar and stable and fast, or do you want something that is more customizable and that is more advanced per se, with more options? Or do you want something that is easy to use and that you know will work and that has a big ecosystem of iTunes and apps? It's really something that you'd have to ask yourself, but they're both great phones, and I hope this helps you choose one. So subscribe today to my videos. I have a lot more videos up, and I appreciate all the support, and I will see you in the next video.